Hi there. Welcome to the Schwoven's Nest. My name is Sandra, and I'm so glad you're here. Are you ready to see some brand new Christmas decor ideas? Let's get crafting. For this project, I'm using two of these reindeer. These are just from my collection of reindeer throughout the years, and I decided it's time to make them look a little bit more rustic. I'm giving them a quick spray of Rust-Oleum Clear Matte Finish. That's just going to help the paint adhere to the plastic. Once the spray paint has dried, I actually liked the look of this silver one. It wasn't shiny silver anymore. It looked more like pewter. So I'm going to remember that for the other shiny ones that I have. But I'm going to continue on with what I wanted to do with these. I'm giving them one coat of black chalk paint, and then I'm going to set them aside to dry completely. Once these were dry, I really liked the matte black look of them too. So I might be doing some solid black in the near future as well. But moving on, I'm just taking the Dollar Tree stenciling brush and some brown paint. This is called espresso, but you could use any type of brown paint that you have. You want it to be on the darker side though. This has a little bit of red in it, which is perfect for that rusty look that I'm going for. I'm just going to be pouncing with the brush all over it, covering it everywhere. It's gonna have a little bit of the black peeking through, but that was the whole point. I want these to look like rusty, crusty reindeer. I'm going to just create a little garland collar for each of the reindeer. This is a piece of the Dollar Tree garland that I trimmed really short because I don't like that really long fluffy look. And now I'm just adding some pip berries into this just to give it a little bit more of a festive look. Once I've got these on, I'm going to be adding tiny little bits of cedar branches that I've sort of frosted with some white spray paint, and they look a little bit snowy. If you've worked with the Dollar Tree garlands, you know that they are wired, so it was really easy for me to put them into a rounded sort of a horseshoe shape and then tuck them onto the neck of the reindeer. I really love how these turned out. I think they look absolutely rusted and so farmhouse, so much better than the clear and the silver that they were previously. This was such an easy project, but it has such a big wow factor. I really love how they turned out. Today's video is part of the Festive Christmas Crafts collab hosted by Linda at Faith Chick 777's DIY by Design. We are also joined by Emily at Farm Charm Chic and Crafting My Best Life with Lisa Marie. I love these ladies' channels. I follow them and watch them when I'm doing crafts myself. They are so inspiring and have such beautiful attention to detail in their crafts. When you are done watching my video, I would really appreciate it if you could click the link to each of their videos. The links will be down in my description box. If you haven't subscribed to them already, please make sure you do so. Support them by hitting the like button. And if you really love what they're doing, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything else they have to share. I've been wanting to make some little mini houses for like a little Christmas village. So I took one of these signs that you can get at the Dollar Tree and I cut it down using my miter saw into different sizes, and then I angled the peaks at the top for the roof. Then I took a piece of 2x4 and I sliced it really thin. You can see that's what I'm putting on here for the roof. I cut them down to the right size and I'm just using hot glue to put it all together. The longwood signs with the writing on them aren't real wood. I believe they're some type of MDF product, so they're not super hard to cut. You don't need to use power tools. I just do it because I have little strength in my hands anymore, so I use the power tools to make my job a little bit easier. But you can definitely just use a miter box and a hacksaw to cut these. I'm giving all of the houses 1 coat of black chalk paint. This is just a DIY chalk paint, and if you're interested in the recipe, I do have it down in my description box way at the bottom. You'll have to scroll all the way down to find it. But the reason I'm doing the black first is to cover up the letters that are on the other side of the sign pieces. You can see one in the left top corner. It's a very bright white, and this black will just help to camouflage that when I put my next colors on top. I gave each of the houses a couple of coats of color. One is green, one is red, and one is white. Now I'm going to be cutting out this printable that I created, and I will have this available on my website. The link to my website is down in my description box too. I'm going to cut this out and then use a glue stick to glue it on top of each of the houses. This full page will be available as a free printable on my website. That link is also down in my description box. I'm going to use my craft knife to trim off the peak at the top where the roof line is, and then I'm going to grab some sandpaper and just sand off the excess all the way around. I'm going to repeat this for the other 2 houses. If you are new to my channel, perhaps coming over from one of my collab friends, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you like what you see, I would love it if you could hit that red button and support the growth of my channel. My favorite product to use for snow or fake snow is Epsom salt. You can pick this up in bags like this at the dollar store. I think I paid $1.75 for this bag. And I really like it because number one, it's not like glitter, so you can clean it up really easily, but it still has a pretty little sparkle to it. It's a little chunky, so it almost looks like ice too. So that's another reason why I love it. What I'm going to do is take a brush and add Mod Podge to the roof of the houses. You can put the Mod Podge wherever you want. If you'd like to cover the whole roof, by all means, you can do that. Or you can just go around the edges like I'm doing for this first house. Once you've got a good amount of Mod Podge on there, do not be skimpy with it because otherwise the Epsom salt will not stick. I'm just going to take the house then and dip it right into the Epsom salt, kind of swish it around a little bit, kind of give it a little bit of a tap here and there, make sure that all of the Mod Podge is covered, and then I'll just set it aside to dry. It looks like beautiful ice crystals are sitting on top of each of these houses, and I really love this effect. This little village was really easy to make, and I think I'll probably be making some more in the future. I hope you like them. This is an apron that I picked up at my local dollar store. It was a barbecue apron, but I love the red and white pattern on it. So I'm going to cut out a piece of fabric that I'm going to use to make a mini pillow. The first thing I'm going to do is just create a hem on all of the sides, except for where I'm going to be folding it. This is just going to make it so much cleaner when I glue all of the edges together. This is really easy to make it straight because of the squares that are there. I just put a bead of hot glue, not too much, you just need a little bit to tack it down, and then fold it over following the lines. I'm going to fold the piece of fabric so the right sides are facing each other and then start gluing the edges down. I'm just going to do the 2 side pieces for now because I need to do something else to this before I stuff it. Once the glue is set, you can carefully turn it inside out, and I'm taking my time doing this and making sure I don't push too hard into the corners. I just want to do it very gently to get those corners out. I cut out this design using my Cricut Explorer. But if you don't have one, you could definitely just do a stencil on this little guy. You could even print this design off on tissue paper and use just sparingly amount of Mod Podge or some spray adhesive to glue it on. Since this is just going to be a little decor piece, it really doesn't have to be soft by any means. I'm using a little mini heat press. This one is from Hippo. I'll have that linked down in my description box. For this second little project, I'm using a section of drop cloth. When you're cutting with fabric, make sure you use fabric scissors. It makes your life so much easier. You could also pick up a rotary cutter. I know that Dollar Tree sells those as well. Not sure how sharp the blade is, but it might work for a few times. I'm doing the same idea as I did with the red checkered one. The only exception to this is I'm not making any hems on this one. I will just be turning it inside out. Again, make sure that the glue is set up and completely dry before you attempt to flip it right side out, and very carefully push out those corners. I want this to have more of a flat bottom, so I'm going to go right to the corners, move in about a good inch or so, and just pull the sides apart, and that leaves you with this little triangle shape. I'm using some hot glue just to tack down these little triangle corners. I'm going to use the tip, just fold it over and hold it in place. And when I turn this right side out, I'll have created a little flat bottom for my bag. Again, be careful when you're turning it right side out. You don't want to pull off any of the glue. I'm just going to very gently kind of give it a shake here and then very slowly push out those corners. And you can see here that just making those little triangle shapes on the inside has created somewhat of a flat bottom for my bag. For the little bag, I used some red heat transfer vinyl, again, making sure that I reverse the image if it has any text on it. This did, so I had to make sure that I put the mirror on before I did the cut. And I love weeding heat transfer vinyl. It doesn't matter how intricate the pattern is, it always comes out great. It's because this vinyl is so much thicker than the regular vinyl that you use, and you really don't have to be too careful. I can really give this a good yank, and it doesn't pull off any of the other part of the design. I have these heat resistant Teflon sheets that I use for a lot of my designs, especially when I'm doing sublimation. You can definitely just put a piece of parchment paper in between here. You just want to make sure that the glue that's going to be attaching your decal to the fabric doesn't stick to the back of your project. This design will also be available as a free printable on my website. I'll have one in red and one in black. I'm using my mini heat press again, and I believe the temperature was 350 degrees Fahrenheit and for 30 seconds. I'm using polyfill that came from a sleeping pillow that I got at Walmart. I think it was $4. So one of the really cheap ones, then it doesn't matter. You don't feel bad pulling it apart. I've had this for quite a while. I don't do a whole lot of pillows, but it does come in handy for different projects. I'm just being very gentle, again, stuffing the polyfill down into the corners. And once I get it stuffed with as much as I want, I'm simply going to use hot glue to glue the top together. I added some polyfill to the bag, and then I used some of the red and white twine that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I tied it really nice and snug at the top in a knot, and then I wrapped it around a couple more times and then just tied it one more time. I'm going to leave the little red and white pillow by itself. I think it doesn't need anything else to embellish it, but I'm going to add this bow to the bag, a few little cedar pieces, and a pine cone. And I think both of these pieces turned out absolutely adorable, and they'll look so pretty sitting on a tiered tray. For this project, I thought I would talk just a little bit about how I make my graphics. I use Google Drawing, which is a Chrome app, and it's available on Windows or Mac. It's totally free as long as you have a Google account. These are some Creative Fabrica images. It's a pack that I downloaded from their website. I have the link for that down in my description box. When you download something from the Creative Fabrica site, it shows up as a zipped folder. What I do is I go to my downloads folder and then I take a look at where it is. It will be a folder with an actual zipper on it. Once I've selected the folder, I can do a right click and then choose Extract All. That will pull all of those images out and put them in a regular folder. Now I can go ahead and look at this regular folder that has the same name as the extracted file, open it up by double clicking, and then I can see all of the wonderful images that I have to choose from. You can very easily move each of these images around because I haven't grouped anything yet. So if I wanted to make any changes, I could. If I wanted to add some more images, I would go to the Insert menu, click on Upload from Computer, and then navigate to the file that I want to use. These are really huge files, but it's really easy just to shrink them down and resize them to make them fit your project. Now I'm in my sort of workshop area where I have all of my machines, and I've turned the Cricut mug press on to let it heat up. Using sublimation is kind of the same as using heat transfer vinyl. You have to make sure that you mirror your image or flip it so it looks backwards when it's printed off. So when you place it onto your mug like I'm doing here, the words turn out the right way. I like to just use a piece of painter's tape once I've got all of my image lined up, and then that just holds it onto the mug really well. It doesn't leave any sticky residue either because it's only touching the part of the mug that will be sticking out of the press. I like to then wrap my mug with a piece of parchment paper. And the reason I'm doing that is I don't want any of that sublimation ink to go through the paper and end up on the inside of my mug because then that ink will transfer to my next project. Once the mug is in the press and centered, all you need to do is use some good force and snap that press lid down. That closes all of the heat elements against your mug, and then you just let it do its work. It has 5 buttons up at the top that will flash, and then it beeps once it's complete. You can see the 5 dots are flashing up there. That's also a visual indicator that it is finished. You just pop up that lid and then you have to be super careful when you're taking out your mug. The handle never gets hot, but the inside will steam. So normally I just very gingerly take it out, pull it up really nice and slow. Just let the parchment paper kind of fall off of it or just pull that off. And then just set it down on another piece of parchment paper or something that is like a hot pad and just let it cool down. Once the mug has cooled down a little bit, I can never ever wait until it's completely cool. I just kind of grab the edges of that painter's tape and pull it off. It usually takes a good 20 to 25 minutes for the mug to cool down completely, but I don't ever have the patience for that. So I just try not to touch it with my fingers. But look how adorable this mug turned out. I just love this little design. I think it's so pretty with the gnomes and the little trees and little Santa, the reindeer. I'm in love with this mug, and this is going to be mine for the Christmas season. I really hope you enjoyed all of my projects today. They'll all look really amazing on a tiered tray for the holiday season. Please make sure you don't forget to go down to that description box and click on the links to all of my Collab friends' videos. You won't want to miss out on what they've created. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the thumbs up, and the notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one.